Hello and welcome back to Global English Podcast, the place where we break down English for you. I'm your host, Jordan.
And I'm Taylor. Good to see you, everyone.
We have a really big deep dive planned for today.
We do. And it's one that I think is going to unlock, some really essential vocabulary for modern success and maybe more importantly for peace of mind.
Okay, let's unpack this because I am so guilty of this and I feel like our listeners are too. Have you ever had that feeling where you're running late for your own life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that frustrating feeling where you're busy all day, your calendar is completely full, but then you look back at the end of the week and you realize you achieved, nothing that really matters.
Nothing.
Zero progress on your big goals.
It's the ultimate productivity trap.
Yeah.
It really is. And, that feeling is made, I think, exponentially worse when you try to read an article about how to fix it.
Oh.
And it's just filled with this confusing, really dense English jargon. You get these technical terms like context switching or time blocking or my favorite, the really bizarre one, eating the frog.
Exactly. What does that even mean? Eat the frog. It sounds like a bad dare from school or something.
Right.
So today, we are not only diving into that precise, complex language, but we're also going to tackle the underlying emotional struggle, that feeling of being perpetually behind in life.
That internal comparison.
Yeah, the one that makes us feel so worried and anxious all the time.
So our mission today is crystal clear. We're using real English sources from expert language platforms, analysis of British culture, all of it, to conquer the vocabulary you need for efficiency, for emotional management, and for these really critical cultural concepts like British punctuality.
Okay, so this isn't just about making a schedule.
No, not at all. Time management isn't just about scheduling. It's about how we use the English language to, define our goals, to prioritize them, and to articulate them.
We're going to make sure you leave this deep dive knowing exactly how to talk about your goals, your habits, and your time management strategies with crystal clear English.
No matter the context.
And you have to stick around because later on, we're going to expose this really strange psychology of why some people actively resist being early.
Oh, it's a fascinating insight into human behavior. We've got some truly fascinating concepts to dissect today, and the right vocabulary will give you the tools to finally get a handle on them.
But first, please hit that subscribe button right now on Global English Podcast and like this deep dive if you want to understand complex topics with crystal clear English.
Your support really does help us keep bringing you this granular, detailed analysis.
Okay, so where do we begin?
We are starting with an emotional concept. Because as our sources really clearly show, the language of time management has to start with mindset.
Right. It's not about the app you use. It's about what's in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the most damaging concept we really need to tackle first is that feeling of being behind in life.
Oh, that phrase. I feel behind. It's massive. I hear it constantly from friends, especially when we talk about career milestones or family planning. So let's go deep. What exactly does it mean to feel behind beyond just, the basic definition?
Okay, so at its core, to feel behind means thinking that you're not doing as well as you want to be. Or, and this is the more destructive part, compared to other people.
The comparison trap.
It is. The analogy is borrowed directly from competitive sport. Imagine you're in a race and you feel like you're late. You look around, you see other runners ahead of you, and you feel that internal pressure, that comparison, and then, the sadness that you need to catch up.
And the sources really emphasize that this is an internal feeling. It's not necessarily based on a universal reality. That's a huge distinction, isn't it?
It's everything. Because reality is objective, but feelings are completely subjective. It's an internal comparison that generates stress, sadness, or worry about your future. You're basically comparing your private journey, with all its struggles, to someone else's public highlight reel on social media.
That's so true. So what's a good analogy to really explain this difference between the subjective feeling and the objective reality?
The classic one is the marathon, but let's refine it a bit. Imagine running a marathon where, everyone has a different starting point.
Right.
And crucially, everyone has a different pace, a different terrain to run on, and even a different finish line.
So we're not even running the same race.
Exactly.
Yep.
When you feel behind, you're looking at someone who maybe started 3 miles ahead of you, or someone who's just a naturally faster sprinter because of their genetics or their circumstances, and you're measuring your unique progress against their path. It's completely unfair internal measurement.
That makes perfect sense. It really highlights the irrationality of the comparison. But I have a question. How is feeling behind different from just feeling frustrated? Because when I feel behind, I also feel intensely frustrated.
That is a fantastic distinction to make. Frustration.
Hmm.
Frustration usually focuses on a lack of progress in a specific immediate task.
Yeah.
You're trying really hard to learn a specific grammar rule, but you keep failing at that task itself. That's frustration.
Got it.
Feeling behind focuses mostly on comparison. It's external and it's chronological. So you might be making huge progress in your career, but if your friend just bought a house while you're still renting, that comparison makes you feel behind on that broader societal life path.
So frustration is about efficacy, like, am I doing this right? But feeling behind is about chronology and where you stand with your peers.
You've nailed it. Frustration is actionable. Feeling behind feels, well, existential.
Can you give us a real-world scenario, maybe one where a language learner might feel this way?
Certainly. Think about a student who is learning English. They wanted to achieve fluency and finish their certification really quickly.
Okay.
But maybe due to health issues, or perhaps needing to work full-time to support their family, they had to take an extra year or even two.
Life gets in the way.
It does. And when they see their former classmates graduating on social media, landing great jobs, or traveling abroad, they can easily feel behind their peer group, behind in education, behind in their career, even though their personal journey is completely valid and necessary.
That sense of needing to catch up, it often leads to stress, which I think brings us to the first word we really have to master in this context: worry.
Yes, we need to stop and dissect this word. It's so common, but it's the cognitive manifestation of feeling behind.
Okay, so here's my spotlight question. What's the real difference between worry, the word we use all the time, and the word anxious? They feel so similar to me.
They do, and that is the #1 point of confusion. So worry is often about specific, immediate problems or negative thoughts about the future, which are often, rational. It's like,
I worry about the exam results next week because I didn't study enough. It's a clear cause and effect. Anxiety, on the other hand, or anxious as the adjective, is a more general, more persistent feeling of unease or fear. It's often exaggerated, or it doesn't even have a clear, immediate cause.
so worry is in your thoughts, but anxiety is more in your body.
That's a great way to put it. Worry is primarily cognitive. It's a thought process. Anxiety is often physiological and deeply emotional. It's a state of being, difficulty breathing, restlessness, that kind of thing.
So let's get the official definition for worry.
Worry, as a verb or a noun, means to feel or cause someone to feel uneasy or concerned about a real or perceived difficulty or danger, especially concerning the future.
Okay, let's hear it in a few different contexts.
Absolutely. Let's do the 5 examples. 1, formal. The council expressed deep worry regarding the infrastructure's susceptibility to long-term climate changes.
Very formal.
Okay. 2, casual. Don't worry about the traffic. We have plenty of time to grab a coffee before the deep dive starts.
That one I use all the time. 3, a bit funny or weird. My goldfish starts to worry intensely if I walk too close to the tank, convinced I'm about to change his water again.
I love that one. Okay. A historical example.
4, during the Great Depression, many families lived in a constant state of worry regarding their job security and housing situation. And finally, 5, a philosophical one. Existentialists suggest that the human condition is often defined by the perpetual worry of the unknown nature of free will.
That really helps solidify how it's used across different registers.
Okay, let's hear it in a longer exchange, maybe one focused on that feeling of comparison.
Okay, a role play. I'll start.
Go for it.
I am truly worried about my job search. Everyone else I know seems to have settled down already.
You seem very worried. Is it the difficulty of the search itself, or is it that external pressure of comparison?
It's the comparison. I worry that I've missed my chance to find a good position because I spent so long studying English. You shouldn't worry so much about external timelines. Your path is unique. Focus on delivering your interview answers with clear competence and sincerity.
You are absolutely right. I will stop worrying about others' progress and just finish reviewing the key job requirements for tomorrow.
Okay, that was really helpful. What about collocations? The words that usually go with worry.
Good question. 5 key ones. 1, most common phrase is worry about. We worry about the cost of living.
Okay.
2, as an adjective, we often say worried sick. This means extremely worried to the point of feeling physically ill.
Got it.
3, with the verb form, you can worry oneself.
Right.
For example, he worried himself sick over the investment.
Right.
4, in a negative context, we often use no worries. It means it's okay or don't stress about it. It's very common in Australian English, but used everywhere now.
Totally.
And 5, a little nuance. The noun worry refers to a specific problem, like the rent is my biggest worry right now.
That is so important to acknowledge. And it brings us back to that second concept you mentioned. Life timelines.
Mhm.
Are they fixed? We need the language to argue against this idea of fixed path.
Yes. And no, they're absolutely not fixed. This is the core emotional argument against feeling behind. The truth is that success and happiness, however you define them, they come at different times for every single person.
So life isn't a straight line.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It is an unpredictable road with turns, stops, and, vastly different speeds for everyone.
We feel such pressure from society, though, don't we? Graduate by 22, married by 30, house by 35. And when we inevitably don't hit those arbitrary milestones, that's when the feeling of being behind creeps in.
Exactly. And the source material really urges us to dismantle that rigid expectation. If we use a nature analogy, think about comparing life to a slow-growing plant versus a fast-growing one. You can compare a magnificent slow-growing oak tree against a quick-growing annual plant. The oak tree takes decades to reach its full majesty, but it lasts for centuries. The quick-growing plants, they achieve their goal immediately, but their season is short. Both are successful.
In their own time and in their own way. I love that.
Precisely.
It's a crucial reminder that, longevity and depth require patience. And judging the success of your life's work requires empathy and sincerity towards yourself.
Let's pull those two words apart. They're essential relationship skills, whether that relationship is with a client or with yourself. Let's start with sincerity.
Okay, so spotlight question. What makes sincerity different from just simple honesty?
Great question. Honesty means telling the truth, factually. Sincerity, however, is about the genuineness of your feelings, your intentions, and your belief.
Okay.
You can be honest about terrible data, for example. But if you don't truly believe in the solution you're offering, you lack sincerity. Sincerity is the foundation of trust, especially in professional communication.
So it's honesty plus belief.
That's a perfect summary. Let's get the definition. Sincerity is a noun, and it's the quality of being honest, genuine, and truly believing what you are saying or doing.
Okay, let's hear the examples.
Number 1, formal. The diplomatic delegation accepted the apology with a note of appreciation for the unexpected sincerity demonstrated by the opposing leader.
Okay.
2, casual. I could feel the sincerity in his compliment about my cooking. He didn't just say it to be polite.
Right, you could tell he really meant it.
Exactly. 3, a funny one. The dog's dramatic display of intense sincerity when he pretends he hasn't eaten all day is highly manipulative.
That's brilliant. 4, historical.
Public figures in the Victorian era were often obsessed with the outward appearance of virtue, sometimes prioritizing perceived sincerity over actual moral conduct.
So faking sincerity.
Pretty much. And number 5, philosophical. To achieve true happiness, many philosophies argue one must live life with complete sincerity and alignment with one's core internal values.
Okay, let's see this in action, maybe in a scenario about managing a team.
Perfect. I'll start again.
Okay.
I'm asking you to switch projects quickly. How can I be sure you truly believe in this pivot and aren't just saying yes?
I understand your need for my sincerity. I admit I questioned this idea initially, but after seeing the updated market analysis, my perspective completely changed. I believe in this.
Acknowledging your initial skepticism actually demonstrates more professional sincerity than if you had simply claimed perfection from day one.
Exactly. I want to emphasize the long-term strategic benefits to the whole team, not just my personal interest, to ensure my sincerity is clear.
When team members sense that level of genuine belief and sincerity, trust is quickly established, which is vital for teamwork.
Love that. Okay, what about collocations and nuances for sincerity?
I have 5 here. 1, a common phrase is genuine sincerity. We use it to emphasize the feeling.
Right.
2, the adjective form is sincere, as in, he made a sincere effort.
Got it.
3, the opposite is insincerity. It's often linked to hidden motives or being manipulative.
Okay.
4, for the verb connection, you demonstrate sincerity or you show sincerity. And 5, a nuance. In persuasive communication, expressing sincerity often involves being transparent about the journey you took to reach your current belief, just like in our role play.
Building on sincerity, we need to talk about empathy, especially when we're worried about comparing ourselves to others.
This is essential for all human connection, really.
So can we do a spotlight comparison again? Empathy versus sympathy. It's a recurring confusion point for learners.
Absolutely. Sympathy is feeling sorry for someone suffering. You acknowledge their pain or bad situation.
Okay.
Empathy is the ability to understand or feel what another person is experiencing from their frame of reference. You don't just feel sorry, you try to connect emotionally. You metaphorically walk a mile in their shoes.
So in business, empathy would help you understand a client's motivation or a colleague's frustration.
Precisely. The definition of empathy, a noun, is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It involves connecting emotionally to see things from their perspective.
Let's hear the 5 examples.
1. Formal. Effective crisis leadership requires profound empathy for the employees facing acute financial and emotional stress.
Right.
2. Casual. She lacked the basic empathy needed to understand why I was so upset about canceling my long-awaited trip abroad.
Ouch. Okay.
3. A funny one. I tried to show empathy to my smartphone when it ran out of battery, recognizing its own need for rest, but didn't seem to care.
That's a good one. Okay. Historical.
Number 4. The early drives for humanitarian aid were largely driven by a growing cross-cultural empathy for the victims of conflict and famine. And 5. Philosophical. Ethical decision-making fundamentally relies on cultivating empathy because it forces us to consider the consequences of our actions on others.
Okay, let's role play a scenario where one person is struggling with that feeling of being behind and the other needs to apply this skill.
Good idea. I'll be the one struggling.
Okay, I'll be the empathetic friend.
I understand you are disappointed in yourself for not reaching B2 level yet. I feel like I'm wasting valuable time.
I hear you, and I appreciate you sharing that frustration. I can demonstrate empathy because I, too, felt that pressure to move faster than I was ready to.
So you understand the urgency I feel to skip ahead to advanced grammar and complicated vocabulary.
I truly do. But knowing how important sustainable progress is helps me advise you. We need to apply empathy to yourself. Be patient and focus on the manageable steps.
That personal connection makes a huge difference. Thank you for showing empathy instead of just telling me to try harder.
Okay, that felt very real.
Yeah.
What are the key collocations for empathy?
5 to remember. 1. A very common phrase is to show empathy or to lack empathy, as in, the supervisor lacked empathy.
Okay.
2. The adjective form is empathetic. She is a very empathetic listener.
Right.
3. There's also a verb form. You can empathize with someone.
Empathize with. Got it.
4. A nuance. In a negotiation, you can use empathy to appeal to the other party's self-interest or motivations.
That's a clever use.
And 5. Another nuance. A common trap is something called empathy fatigue. This is when professionals like doctors or therapists become tired of feeling others suffering all the time.
It seems like the takeaway here is that focusing on our own small, consistent progress is the key to managing all this emotional pressure.
It is.
But what are the famous real-world scenarios that just shatter the idea of a fixed timeline? The ones that really show you need patience and self-sincerity.
We have 2 fantastic, classic examples from our source material that everyone should remember. First, Colonel Harlan Sanders,
The KFC guy.
the founder of KFC, yes.
Right.
He did not start his famous, globally successful business until he was in his 60s.
Wow.
Before that, he faced numerous failures. If he had stopped trying in his 50s because he fell behind, KFC would not exist.
This time definitely came late, but it was massive when it did. That requires incredible emotional resilience to keep going for that long.
It does. And another great example is J.K. Rowling. She faced significant difficulties, struggling financially as a single mother. She didn't become a successful world-renowned writer until she was in her 30s.
So these stories stress that critical phrase, your time will come.
Exactly. You are not behind. You are simply moving at your own speed.
That gives me such a great sense of perspective. It proves that the journey towards fluency, whether it's in English or in life, is never really over.
And let's dive into that word, fluent or fluency. We need to master this language goal.
Okay, so spotlight comparison. Fluent versus proficiency. Are they interchangeable? Or should learners aim for one first?
They are often confused. Proficiency refers to a high, measurable level of ability. It's often graded by an official test like B2 or C1.
So proficiency is about a score.
In many ways, yes. Fluency, on the other hand, means speaking easily and smoothly with minimal hesitation. You can be proficient in grammar but still struggle with speed or flow, so you're not truly fluent.
Ah, I see.
Conversely, a native speaker who uses very simple vocabulary is fluent, but they might not be highly proficient in, say, academic language. Fluency is about the flow and the confidence of your speech. It's about minimizing the stops and starts.
So what's the definition?
Fluent is an adjective meaning able to express oneself easily, effortlessly, and articulately. And fluency is the noun, the quality of being fluent, especially in a language.
Okay, let's run through the 5 examples.
1. Formal. Achieving professional fluency requires consistent practice in both complex industry terminology and nuanced social interaction.
Okay.
2. Casual. She speaks 3 languages and she is completely fluent in all of them, switching between them effortlessly.
That's the dream.
3. Funny weird. My friend is shockingly fluent in sarcasm, using perfect intonation and timing to deliver a joke.
Huh, I know a few people like that. Historical example.
Number 4. Prior to the 19th century, educated people across Europe were expected to be fluent in Latin to access most academic texts. And 5. Philosophical. The goal of deep learning is often to become fluent not just in words, but in the underlying concepts of a specific discipline, whether it be science or art.
Let's imagine 2 English learners talking about their goals and how this language connects to that feeling of being behind.
Great idea. A role play. You start.
Okay. My main goal is to achieve C1 proficiency by the end of the year, but I struggle with my confidence and often hesitate when speaking.
Many students focus too much on the test scores. Focus instead on conversational fluency. That will build your confidence.
How do I improve my fluency if I keep stopping every 3 words to think about grammar rules? That's where I feel behind.
Try the shadowing technique we'll discuss later. It helps you focus on rhythm and speed, which are essential for true, effortless fluency.
I think you're right. If I can focus on becoming conversationally fluent first, the confidence will follow, and then the structured proficiency will feel easier.
Exactly. So for collocations and nuances for fluency, 1, a common phrase is to achieve fluency or to boost fluency. 2, the adverb form is fluently. She speaks English fluently.
Right?
3, a useful nuance. We often talk about being functionally fluent, which means you're able to work professionally or conversationally fluent, meaning you can chat easily.
That's a really useful distinction.
4, another nuance. The term is used metaphorically. You can talk about data fluency or financial fluency.
I like that.
And 5, the verb connection is speak fluently. The key idea here is the lack of hesitation.
That transition is perfect because once we understand the emotional challenges, we need the tactical language to address them. We need to move from feeling stressed to doing the right tasks.
Exactly. So now we dive into the dense productivity jargon. We're leveraging lessons from sources like the ABC Learning English podcast to make these complex, sometimes intimidating ideas perfectly clear. Let's start with the classic of efficiency, the 80-20 rule.
The 80-20 rule. Okay, so what exactly is it and why is it also called the Pareto principle? It sounds a bit like math.
It is math, but when you apply it to life, it's revolutionary. The Pareto principle, named after an Italian economist, Vilfredo Pareto, observes that roughly 80% of the desired effects come from only 20% of the causes.
Okay.
Simplified for productivity, this means that 20% of your focused efforts bring 80% of your important results.
So it's not about doing more hours, it's about identifying that absolutely critical 20%.
Precisely. If you feel busy all the time but achieve nothing important, it's likely because you're spending 80% of your time on the 80% of tasks that only yield 20% of the results. You need to identify what is truly effective, what is vital, and maximize your time there.
I know the source material had a brilliant analogy about playing guitar. Let's share that to make this rule really concrete.
Oh, it's a perfect illustration. So imagine you decide you want to learn to play the guitar. You go out and you buy this massive, big, thick book of 2,000 guitar chords.
Okay, 2,000. That's a lot.
It is. And as a beginner, you might think you need to learn all 2,000. You get bogged down in the details.
Yeah.
You practice chord number 1, then number 2, then 3. Your fingers hurt. And after weeks, you still can't play a single complete song.
That is the feeling of spending 100% of your time for 0% music. Total frustration.
But then a musician friend tells you the secret. You only need to know 20% of the chords. Maybe just 4 simple ones, like G, C, D, and E minor, to play 80% of all popular songs.
Whoa.
In one afternoon, using just those 4 chords, you can play 3 different songs.
So those 4 chords are the vital 20%, and the other 1,996 chords are the trivial 80%. That is a powerful moment of realization.
It is.
Let's dissect the vocabulary of those 2 concepts right now. Trivial.
Trivial.
Spotlight question. What makes a task trivial versus simply minor?
Minor usually suggests a task is secondary, but perhaps still necessary. You know, a minor repair, a minor disagreement. Trivial, however, carries a much stronger sense of worthlessness, of insignificance, or pettiness. It means something is so slight that it really doesn't matter at all in the grand scheme of things.
So the 80% of tasks that produce almost no important results, those are the trivial many.
Exactly. The definition. Trivial is an adjective that means of little value or importance, extremely slight, insignificant, or easily dismissed.
Okay, let's hear the examples.
1. Formal.
Yeah.
The committee spent an inordinate amount of time debating trivial procedural minutiae instead of core policy proposals.
I can imagine that. Okay, casual.
We don't need to argue about something so trivial as who controls the remote control for the TV.
A classic trivial argument.
3. The funny weird one.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is accidentally spending my entire inheritance on some incredibly trivial plastic novelty toy.
Huh. All right. Historical.
The early Industrial Revolution eliminated many household tasks previously seen as crucial, rendering them trivial by modern standards.
And 5, philosophical. A life focused exclusively on the acquisition of comfort and shallow pleasure risks becoming preoccupied with trivial and ultimately meaningless concerns.
Okay, let's use it in a conversation about a modern workload, especially the distractions we all face.
Okay, a role play. I'll start.
I feel overwhelmed by my workload, but I only finished 2 projects today.
Let's apply the 80-20 rule.
All right.
Were those projects vital or were they peripheral?
I spent the whole morning cleaning out my old digital files and reading online comments. They felt necessary, but yeah, they are clearly trivial tasks.
Exactly. If the task is trivial, spending your best morning energy on it is a waste. That energy should be directed to the vital project.
So I need to minimize those trivial tasks like clearing files and focus ruthlessly on the one vital client report that actually moves me forward.
Perfect. Now for the collocations and nuances. 1. A common phrase is trivial details. It's often used when something is overly complicated.
Okay.
2. The adverb is trivially. For example, the cost was trivially small.
3. Some synonyms are inconsequential or insignificant.
Good to know.
4. A bit of trivia about trivial. The board game Trivial Pursuit is based on collecting facts about unimportant general knowledge topics.
Of course.
And 5. A nuance. When you use it to describe people, saying someone is trivial implies they focus on shallow or silly matters.
Now for the powerful counterpart to trivial, which is vital.
Yes.
Spotlight question. If something is vital, how is it different from being essential? They feel very similar.
They are very close synonyms,
Yeah.
and both mean absolutely necessary. Essential is necessary for completeness or function, so grammar rules are essential for clarity. Vital, however, often carries a stronger sense of being critical for life, for existence, for health, or for core success. It's necessary for survival or the core function of an organization.
So the 20% tasks are vital because they are critical to achieving the 80% of results you need for success.
Precisely. The definition of vital, an adjective, is absolutely necessary or important, critical for life, existence, or success.
Examples, please.
1. Formal. The acquisition of the new European patent is vital to the company's continued competitiveness in the global semiconductor sector. 2. Casual. Water, good sleep, and daily vocabulary practice are vital for maintaining mental energy throughout the long learning journey.
So true.
3. Funny weird. It is absolutely vital that I find my lost phone charger immediately, or I will lose all connection to the outside world.
That one feels very real and historical.
Controlling the narrow sea lanes during the age of exploration was vital to the military and economic success of maritime powers.
Makes sense.
And 5. Philosophical. The pursuit of self-knowledge and ethical reflection is a vital characteristic that defines human maturity.
Let's use vital in a planning context, emphasizing how we apply the 80-20 rule.
Okay, a role play. I'll be the manager.
All right.
We have 3 projects this week, A, B, and C. Which one is vital for ensuring our monthly revenue targets are met?
Project A, the client pitch on Tuesday, is the most vital task. It's our 20% effort for 80% of our potential sales.
Okay, then we must dedicate the first 3 hours of the day to Project A. Everything else is secondary and likely trivial.
Let's call the remaining administrative tasks trivial and schedule them for the late afternoon when our energy is lower and focus is harder to maintain.
Excellent. Ruthlessly prioritizing the vital tasks protects our key results.
So collocations for vital.
5 key ones. 1. We often say vitally important for a very strong emphasis.
Right.
2. In biology, you have vital signs. It's a medical term for core body functions like heart rate and temperature. 3. There is a verb form. Something can be vitalized, which means made stronger or more lively. 4. A nuance. We often talk about vital energy or vitality.
Oh, what's the last one?
A nuance related to our topic. The 20% tasks are often referred to as the vital few, as opposed to the trivial many.
I like that, the vital few. That leads directly to the core challenge of prioritization, separating the urgent from the important. How do we, linguistically define that difference so we stop responding to everything immediately?
The key is how they feel and how they demand our attention. Urgent tasks, they demand immediate attention. They literally shout at you.
Shout at you.
Metaphorically, yes, they are highly visible. A winging phone, an email notification, a message alert, or a deadline that expires in the next 5 minutes. These tasks create pressure and make you feel reactive.
And the important tasks are the opposite, but they're often the ones we skip.
Yes, important tasks are often quiet. They contribute silently to your long-term goals, your values, your mission. They build a better life or career. For example, practicing your English vocabulary consistently.
That's not urgent. No one is shouting at me to do it.
Right, but it is incredibly important for your long-term goal of fluency. Exercising, planning your week, learning new software, these are all important, but rarely urgent.
So the core problem is that the urgent tasks, which are often not important, they steal all our time and energy, and they leave no space for the quiet, important work.
Precisely. Most people live in a state of reaction. They spend their days reacting to the immediate demands of others, which is urgent, but not important. This destroys the focus time needed for important tasks, the ones that actually build a better future. The language we use has to reflect this prioritization.
So we need the tools to fight back against urgency. Let's dissect the specific productivity techniques mentioned in the sources. They all have their own specific language.
We have 4 excellent high-frequency techniques here. First, the Pomodoro technique.
The tomato one.
Yes, the tomato one. This method involves working in short, focused bursts. It's typically 25 minutes of concentrated work, followed by a short break, usually 5 minutes.
And why is it called Pomodoro?
The inventor, an Italian university student in the 1980s, used a kitchen timer shaped like a tomato, Pomodoro, the Italian word for tomato. The technique avoids burnout and uses time pressure positively, making big projects feel manageable.
25 minutes is a perfect, manageable block of time to start any daunting task.
Next, we have eating the frog.
The one I was so confused about.
It is highly metaphorical. The frog is your most difficult, biggest, or scariest task. It's the one you know is vital, but which you procrastinate on. The technique advises that you do this most difficult task first thing in the morning when your brain is fresh.
And once you've eaten the frog,
The rest of the day feels easy because you already accomplished your biggest task.
that links back perfectly to the 80-20 rule. Eating the frog is just prioritizing your 20% vital task using your best energy.
It is. Third, there is time blocking. This is a scheduling method where you give every hour of your day a job. You look at your calendar and you block out specific hours for specific tasks. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. is deep work, write report. 11 to 11:30 is email batch. It gives you permission to focus on one thing and avoid distractions.
Okay, wait. I'm guilty of the opposite of time blocking. I just have one huge to-do list that I never, ever finish. How does time blocking force me to confront reality in a way that a simple to-do list doesn't?
That's a key distinction that leads to success. A to-do list is simply a collection of tasks you hope to do. It has no connection to time or reality. You might have 20 hours of work on a to-do list for one 8-hour day, which is impossible.
I've definitely done that.
Time blocking forces those tasks into specific, finite periods. It makes you confront how much time things actually take. A to-do list is aspirational. Time blocking is structural and realistic.
That makes time blocking sound much more effective for realistic planning, and it prevents my brain from getting overloaded.
It does. And finally, we have context switching. This is the enemy of productivity.
The enemy.
Yes. Context switching means moving your attention repeatedly between unrelated tasks. For example, writing an important report, checking an email, checking social media, then going back to the report.
I'm guilty of massive context switching. Every time that little red notification bubble pops up, my focus is just stolen.
And every time you switch contexts, your brain incurs a switching cost. It takes a moment, sometimes up to 23 minutes, to fully restart deep focus. This mental switching itself burns fuel and introduces errors. The best advice is to do tasks in a batch.
A batch.
Yes. Check email only at 11:30, not all day long. This protects your deep work time from unnecessary switching.
The opposite of context switching is focus. Let's talk more about that enemy of focus. The phone. We need the vocabulary to describe that destructive habit.
The perfect term for that is doom scrolling.
Okay, spotlight question. How is doom scrolling different from just mindlessly browsing?
Mindlessly browsing is a general, aimless internet activity, maybe looking at recipes or funny videos. Doom scrolling is a specific, modern, compulsive habit where you continue to consume negative news or distressing social media content, often unconsciously, despite knowing the content makes you feel stressed, worried, or depressed.
So it's the negative compulsive focus that defines the doom part?
Exactly, the definition. Doom scrolling is a noun or verb phrase, and it's the act of excessively consuming negative or worrying news and social media content online, usually to a degree that becomes detrimental to one's mental health.
Let's hear the examples.
1. Formal. The rise of clinical anxiety disorders is statistically correlated with the societal prevalence of routine doom scrolling behaviors, especially before bedtime.
Wow. Okay, casual.
And I realized I spent an hour last night just doom scrolling through political arguments instead of reading a book to wind down.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. What about a funny one?
My friend insists he is performing critical geopolitical research when he's actually just doom scrolling celebrity gossip columns.
That's a good one. Historical.
Well, although the term is modern, historians note similar compulsive behaviors existed during crises, like obsessively reading every newspaper for bad news during a war.
Right.
And 5, philosophical. Doom scrolling represents a profound failure of impulse control, where one focuses obsessively on uncontrollable events rather than controllable actions.
Let's use this term in a conversation about habits and how it undermines our attempts to rest.
Okay, a role play. I'll start.
Okay.
I was trying to read a chapter of my English textbook before bed, but I got stuck in a cycle of doom scrolling on my news app.
It's so addictive. Those algorithms know exactly what negative headline to feed you to keep you watching and keep you worried.
I ended up reading about 3 different global crises and then felt too stressed to sleep.
You need to implement a digital sunset. Put the phone away when you start to wind down and actively choose rest.
Good idea. Doom scrolling completely defeats the purpose of trying to relax and manage stress before bed.
So, collocations for doom scrolling.
5 to know. 1. A very common phrase is the cycle of doom scrolling.
Great.
2. The verb is to doom scroll. I spent an hour doom scrolling.
Got it.
3. The antidote is often called a digital detox or a digital sunset.
I need one of those.
4. A nuance. The word doom implies a sense of impending disaster or fate.
And 5.
It is directly linked to the design of notification systems that steal our attention and trigger that context switching we talked about.
We just used our next term, which is essential for improving sleep and consistency.
Yeah.
To wind down.
Yes.
Spotlight question. How is to wind down different from simply to relax or to settle down?
Okay, good question. To relax is very general. You can relax by watching TV. To settle down can mean relaxing, but it can also mean making a big life change like settling down and starting a family.
Right.
To wind down specifically means to gradually decrease one's mental or physical activity in preparation for rest or sleep. The source describes it as the opposite of gearing up. It's a structured process of de-stressing or de-stimulation.
So it's an active process.
It is. The definition. To wind down is a phrasal verb that means to gradually relax after a period of activity, stress, or excitement, typically in preparation for sleep or rest.
Let's hear the examples.
1. Formal. The executives utilized a structured communication schedule that allowed sufficient time in the evening for staff to wind down before going home.
Nice. Casual.
After jogging for 10 kilometers, I like to wind down with a few minutes of quiet meditation and stretching.
Okay, a funny one.
The computer took 20 minutes to finally wind down its internal fans and shut off after rendering a massive file.
That's a good metaphorical use. Historical.
In many traditional societies, the absence of electric light created a natural rhythm that naturally forced people to wind down shortly after sunset.
Right, makes sense.
And 5, philosophical. True success is knowing how and when to intentionally switch off and wind down, recognizing that rest is actually a productive and vital activity.
Let's discuss a healthy evening routine using this term and how we can avoid that context switching.
Okay, role play. You start this time.
I struggle to fall asleep because my brain is still thinking about work emails. I feel like I'm always on.
You need a dedicated no-screens routine to help you wind down for at least 45 minutes before bed.
What does an effective wind-down routine look like? I usually just watch more TV.
That's too stimulating. Try reading a physical book, listening to quiet instrumental music, or practicing the English shadowing technique on a calming topic. Avoid anything that causes context switching.
So, a period of intentional, low-stimulation relaxation to transition from urgent mode to sleep mode.
Yeah.
I need to start actively making time to wind down.
Exactly. For the collocations, 1, a common phrase is wind down before bed or wind down the day.
Okay.
2, the opposite is to gear up, which means to prepare for action.
Right.
3, a nuance. It can be used for a meeting or an event. The negotiations are starting to wind down now. 4, another nuance. It's often associated with managing your emotional and physical energy level.
And the last one.
The verb forms. We have winding down, the present participle, or wound down, the past tense.
Now, for the emotional root of poor time management, the one we all struggle with, procrastination.
Yes, or the verb to procrastinate.
So let's do a spotlight comparison. The noun procrastination versus the verbs to postpone or to delay.
This is crucial. To postpone or to delay are neutral actions. You postpone a meeting because a key person is sick. Procrastination, however, is specifically the intentional and habitual delay of a necessary task, typically because the task is unpleasant, daunting, or because of some kind of psychological resistance.
So it's the emotional avoidance fear of failure, perfectionism, or just boredom that makes it procrastination, not just a practical delay.
Exactly. The definition of procrastination, the noun, is the action of delaying or postponing something. And to procrastinate, the verb, means to delay doing something that one should do, usually due to reluctance, emotional avoidance, or fear.
Okay, let's have the 5 examples.
1, formal. The primary cause of failure among university students was identified as chronic procrastination rooted in a fear of exposing imperfect work.
That's deep. Casual.
I spent the entire afternoon cleaning the inside of the oven, entirely procrastinating on finishing the one-page report.
Oh, that is a classic procrastination activity.
3, the funny one. My favorite method of procrastination involves organizing my entire bookshelf by the color of the spines.
Another classic.
Hey.
Okay, historical.
The Roman politician Cicero explicitly wrote about the dangers of procrastination when dealing with urgent matters of state importance, arguing it was a failure of courage.
Wow. And philosophical.
The act of procrastination reveals an internal conflict between our present self, who is seeking comfort, and our future self, who is seeking long-term gain.
Let's talk about that emotional struggle. This is where the language of emotion and productivity really meet.
Perfect. A role play. I'll start.
Okay.
Why haven't you started that application form? The deadline is next Friday, and it's a vital task.
I know, but I keep finding elaborate reasons to procrastinate. It's not laziness, it's just so complex and boring, and I dread starting it.
Remember the insight. Procrastination is an emotional problem. What feeling are you avoiding by delaying?
I think it's the frustration of dealing with confusing bureaucracy. That emotional resistance is making me procrastinate.
Try the 5-minute rule we talked about. Just commit to the first manageable step for 5 minutes. That breaks the psychological spell of procrastination.
Okay, I can do 5 minutes. So, collocations for procrastination.
1, a common phrase is to struggle with procrastination or tend to procrastinate.
Right.
2, the noun for the person is a procrastinator.
Guilty.
3, the root cause is often linked to fear of failure or perfectionism. 4, a nuance. Procrastination is often overcome by setting micro goals, making the first step laughably small.
Like our 5-minute rule.
Exactly. And 5, a casual term. The phrase procrastination station is a self-deprecating term for the place where you waste time, like a social media app.
I have a few of those. Okay, so now that we have the productivity techniques, let's apply them to the tasks that dominate our daily lives. The boring, mundane stuff, and the critical social contract of punctuality.
Yes. This section focuses heavily on practical, high-frequency English. We're drawing from the BBC's discussions on life admin and the surprising psychology behind British punctuality. We start with that invisible layer of work.
Life admin. Okay, what exactly is life admin? It sounds exhausting, and I feel like I'm drowning in it.
It is exhausting because it's constant. Elizabeth Emmons defines life admin as the office work of life. It's the administration you have to do to make your day-to-day existence run smoothly. Paying bills, booking appointments, managing insurance, and doing household chores.
And it's unpaid.
Crucially, it is often done for free, unlike the administration done by a paid assistant at your job. It's that invisible layer of work that takes up mental space and time.
That explains why I always feel busy and tired even when I'm not doing my actual job. It's all the life maintenance. I think I must be an admin avoider.
And the sources contrast 2 types of people. The admin avoiders who procrastinate on these tasks and often end up getting caught out by late fees, or who never get around to renewing critical documents.
Guilty. The sheer volume makes me resist starting.
Then you have the superdoers. These are people who actually enjoy admin and organizational tasks. They get that done-it pleasure from crossing things off the list.
I want to be a super doer. How do we shift from being an admin avoider?
The recurring theme throughout all the time management advice we've seen, the advice given to Daniel's friends, Henry, Alice, and Olivia, is the power of small, consistent steps.
Right?
Instead of avoiding the big task, you break it down into small, manageable parts. For Henry, it was learning 5 new words daily. For Olivia, cleaning her study desk meant just clearing one drawer first to build momentum.
It's the micro goal strategy applied to daily life. Make the first step so small it's impossible to resist the resistance.
Let's do a deep dive on admin life admin.
Okay, spotlight question. How is life admin different from general task management?
Task management is a broad term for organizing any work or goal. Life admin is specifically the unpaid office work of personal life. It's management for the mundane, necessary maintenance that keeps a household or personal life running smoothly. Bills, doctors, chores. It's a specific type of task management focused on personal bureaucracy.
So the definition.
Admin, which is short for administration, or life admin, a noun phrase, refers to the necessary activities and tasks required to manage one's day-to-day life.
Let's get the examples.
1. Formal. The Organizational Psychology Journal published research on the cognitive burden imposed by excessive personal life admin requirements.
Okay, and casual.
I need to spend the entire weekend catching up on all my neglected financial admin before tax season starts.
Been there. A funny one.
Being a cat owner essentially requires the daily life admin of ensuring the bowl is full and the litter box is impeccably clean.
So true. Historical.
The complexity of modern utilities, banking, and insurance has vastly increased the amount of personal admin each individual must manage compared to previous centuries.
And philosophical.
Reducing the mental overhead of constant life admin is a necessary step toward achieving true mental freedom.
Let's discuss an admin avoider trying to get organized, linking it to our other vocabulary.
Okay, a role play. You start.
I am drowning in overdue life admin. I have 15 emails about bills, and I haven't contacted the utility company yet. I keep procrastinating.
You are an admin avoider. You need to tackle the most vital piece of admin first.
I will use time blocking. I will dedicate an hour this evening only to financial life admin.
Good idea. Break it down into small, manageable steps. Don't let the admin pile up, or you might get caught out by a late fee.
If I start viewing admin as a source of that done-it pleasure, maybe I can become a superdoer.
That's the spirit for collocations. 1. A common phrase is to catch up on admin or to be overwhelmed by admin.
Overwhelmed, yes.
2. The short form is just admin. I have too much admin to do.
Right.
3. The context is usually household tasks, bills, and paperwork.
Oh,
4. A nuance. The phrase admin tasks is very common in the workplace.
And the last one?
Another nuance. The source calls it the invisible layer of work, which I think is a perfect description.
Closely linked to life admin are the boring, ordinary tasks. Chores.
Yes.
Chore.
So spotlight is a chore the same as an errand.
No, and that's a very practical distinction. A chore is typically a boring, ordinary task you do regularly, especially routine housework, washing dishes, cleaning, folding laundry.
Okay.
An errand is a short journey you take to deliver or collect something, often outside the home. Going to the post office or picking up dry cleaning. Chores are repetitive internal routines. Errands are external trips.
That is a very clear distinction. Definition of chore.
A chore is a noun. It's a routine task, especially a household task, that is often boring or unpleasant but necessary for maintenance.
Let's have the examples.
1. Formal. The study analyzed how the equitable distribution of household chores correlates with overall relationship satisfaction. 2. Casual. Doing the laundry and scrubbing the shower are my least favorite household chores, but they must be done regularly.
Yep. Funny one. Convincing my teenage nephew to complete any chore feels like a diplomatic negotiation requiring extreme sincerity.
I bet. Historical.
In early agrarian societies, daily survival was dependent on performing numerous fundamental, non-negotiable chores.
Right.
And 5, philosophical. Even those repetitive chore can become a form of meditation if performed with mindful attention and focus.
Let's role play a discussion about dividing up chores in a shared living space.
Good idea. I'll start.
Go for it.
We need to figure out who is responsible for which household chores this week to avoid friction.
I will take the kitchen chores if you handle the bathroom cleaning, as that requires slightly more exertion.
I think the laundry is the biggest, most time-consuming chore. I'd rather take the easier admin tasks like paying the bills.
We can break the laundry down into small, manageable steps. Washing, drying, folding. That makes the whole chore less daunting.
Fine, but let's rotate the laundry chore next week to ensure fairness and prevent resistance.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Collocations for chore.
5 to know. 1. A very common phrase is household chores.
Okay.
2. As an adjective, we say menial chore, which emphasizes low status or boredom.
Right.
3. The verb is to do chores or to complete chores.
Got it.
4. A nuance. It can be used metaphorically for a boring job. Managing that project felt like a total chore.
I definitely felt that.
And 5. Another nuance. It's often associated with children being assigned tasks at home, sometimes referred to as pocket money chores.
Okay, let's jump to a critical cultural point, especially in professional English. Punctuality.
Yes, in Britain and many Western professional environments, punctuality, being on time, is viewed as critically important. Lateness causes annoyance and necessitates an immediate, sincere apology.
So if you're regularly late, it's seen as disrespectful of the other person's time.
Deeply disrespectful.
Yeah.
The vocabulary difference here is key. Punctual is the adjective. On time is straightforward. You arrive at the agreed time. And then there's running late. That means you haven't arrived yet, but you already know you're going to be late.
And the social contract dictates that if you are running late, you have to call or text immediately.
You must. But tell me about the time benders again. Why do they exist? Is it just poor organization? Or is there a psychological reason why people choose to be late?
According to the author Grace Pacey, a time bender is someone who is always late because they simply don't allow enough time to get somewhere. They have an internal psychological resistance to being early. They genuinely think they have time to do absolutely everything they've packed in before they leave. So the lateness is driven by this optimistic delusion about what can be achieved in the last 15 minutes.
Exactly. And the therapist, Philippa Perry, adds deeper psychological reasons. A fear of being early can be a fear of being conspicuous.
Conspicuous?
Yes, easily noticed. Standing out in a strange, empty place, having no one to talk to, feeling a bit alone and awkward. The discomfort of waiting around makes them resist being early, which ironically ensures they are late and risking being caught out by delays.
That is a surprisingly human and strangely relatable reason for poor timekeeping. Let's dig into the vocabulary of that social anxiety. First, conspicuous. Spotlight question. How does conspicuous compare to just being noticeable?
They both mean easy to see. Noticeable is neutral. A small scratch on the car is noticeable. Conspicuous means standing out in a way that attracts attention, often unwanted attention, or in a way that suggests you are out of place. It's not just seen, it's standing out in a crowd and feeling self-conscious about it.
So it has a negative self-conscious flavor.
It often does, the definition. Conspicuous is an adjective meaning standing out so as to be clearly visible, attracting attention, often in a way that makes one feel exposed.
Let's have the examples.
1. Formal. The firm's abrupt shift in marketing strategy was highly conspicuous to all of their main competitors, forcing a rapid market reaction.
Right, casual.
He wore a bright fluorescent pink shirt that made him feel extremely conspicuous at the quiet black and white art gallery opening.
Been there. Funny one.
The toddler's attempts to subtly sneak the entire cake from the counter were anything but conspicuous.
Not conspicuous at all. Okay, historical.
During the Great Exhibition of 1851, attendees would wear large, highly conspicuous hats to demonstrate their high social status.
And philosophical.
True leadership often lies in quiet, steady work, rather than the pursuit of conspicuous public fame.
So people who fear being early worry about being the only one there and feeling conspicuous. Let's role play that social dynamic.
Okay. You be the early arriver.
I arrived 15 minutes early for the industry networking event, and now I'm standing alone by the entrance. I feel incredibly conspicuous.
That sounds awkward. Just find a corner and check your phone until the room starts to fill up.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the first one noticed.
Exactly. Being the first to arrive makes me feel awkward and highly conspicuous because everyone who walks in sees me waiting alone.
That fear of standing out is why people have an internal resistance to being on time. They prefer to run late than feel conspicuous.
It's terrible logic, but I understand the human motivation now. I need to overcome the fear of being conspicuous.
Let's look at the collocations. 1. A common phrase is conspicuous by its absence. It's used when something expected is missing.
I've heard that.
2. The adverb is conspicuously. He conspicuously avoided eye contact.
Right.
3. Synonyms would be obvious or prominent.
Got it.
4. A nuance. It's often linked to conspicuous consumption, which is displaying wealth publicly.
Yes.
And 5, another nuance. The fear of being conspicuous is cited as a major psychological reason for lateness, leading to that time-bender behavior.
The feeling that often accompanies being conspicuous is awkward.
Let's dive into awkward.
So spotlight. How is awkward different from just being embarrassing?
Embarrassing describes a feeling of shame or self-consciousness because of a specific mistake or blunder, like spilling coffee on your boss. Awkward describes a general feeling of discomfort, nervousness, or social unease because of a difficult or uncomfortable situation, often involving others.
So the situation itself is uncomfortable and the feeling is nervousness or unease.
Exactly. The definition. Awkward is an adjective that means causing or feeling difficulty, nervousness, or embarrassment. Uncomfortable or inconvenient in a social or physical sense.
Let's hear the 5 examples.
1. Formal. Due to the sudden removal of the CEO, there was an immensely awkward silence before the board chairman could begin their statement.
Oof, casual.
Asking my acquaintance for money was an incredibly awkward situation that I hope to never repeat.
Very awkward. A funny one.
The tiny dog looked particularly awkward, attempting to climb the excessively high fence in the garden.
Ah, okay, historical.
The early correspondence between the rival royal houses often contained many awkward phrases designed to signal disapproval without causing outright offense.
And philosophical?
Personal growth requires embracing awkward periods of transition where old habits are gone but new ones have not yet fully formed.
Let's use this in the context of avoiding early arrival again and the psychology of lateness.
Good plan. I'll start the role play.
Okay.
I noticed you always arrive 5 minutes after the start time for our movie night. Why?
Because I don't want to arrive first. I hate the awkward silence when it's just me and the host, and I feel conspicuous.
You feel nervous and awkward when you're alone, so you become a time bender by cutting your margin for error.
Yes. I prefer to show up when the room is already full to avoid that initial awkward moment.
You must decide to be punctual instead of letting the fear of feeling awkward make you run late and possibly miss the start.
That hits home.
Mm.
What are the collocations for awkward?
1. A very common phrase is an awkward silence.
The worst.
2. The adverb is awkwardly. He walked awkwardly across the slippery floor.
Right.
3. A nuance. It can also describe an object.
Mm.
An awkward shape means it's hard to handle.
Mm-hmm.
4. Socially awkward is a very common descriptive phrase.
Yes.
And 5. The term awkward situation describes a circumstance where no one knows exactly how to proceed socially.
Now for the consequence of being a time bender, of leaving things until the last minute and running late, which is often the most painful lesson, to get caught out.
Yes. Get caught out.
So, spotlight. How is to get caught out different from simply to be surprised?
To be surprised can be positive, like a surprise party, or neutral, like a surprise snowfall. To get caught out is always negative. It means being found in a difficult, embarrassing, or vulnerable situation because you did not prepare adequately, specifically by leaving things until the last minute.
Like the man in the source who leaves things to the last minute and then gets caught out by the train being delayed.
That is the perfect example, the definition. To get caught out is a phrasal verb idiom that means to be put in a difficult or embarrassing situation that one did not expect or was unprepared for, often due to poor planning or leaving tasks until the last minute.
Let's hear the examples.
1. Formal. Due to the unexpected regulatory change, several financial firms were caught out by the lack of adequate compliance documentation, leading to penalties.
Okay. Casual.
I left my house without checking the weather app and got completely caught out by the sudden, heavy rainstorm.
A classic. Funny one.
The homeowner was completely caught out when their young child suddenly asked a profoundly philosophical question about existence.
Huh. That's a good one. Historical.
Navies that failed to anticipate the rapid change in weather during exploration were frequently caught out, far from safe harbor, and suffered losses.
Right.
And 5, philosophical. The failure to plan for future uncertainties ensures that one will inevitably get caught out by unforeseen circumstances or complexity.
Let's use this in the context of the time bender who constantly runs late for the train.
Perfect. You be the time bender.
I always cut my travel time too close. I know I only need 18 minutes to get to the station.
That means you risk being caught out by any small problem, like heavy traffic, a quick errand, or a ticket machine failure.
Exactly. I thought I had just enough time, but the minute the bus was delayed, I was completely caught out and missed my train.
If you procrastinate on leaving, you remove your time buffer, making yourself vulnerable to being caught out by external events.
I need to start going out of my way to avoid leaving things until the last minute so I don't get caught out by external forces.
That's the solution. So for collocations, 1, a common phrase is to get caught out by the weather or by delays or traffic.
Right.
2, the noun is a catch out. It's less common, but it implies the situation.
Okay.
3, a nuance. It often implies an element of being exposed or discovered in an unfortunate state. 4, in sports it means a batter being out because a fielder caught the ball.
Interesting.
And 5, the most important nuance for us.
Yeah.
The primary lesson is that the lack of buffer time is what causes the problem.
And our final deep dive term in this section describes the action of the truly punctual person. To go out of your way.
An essential idiom.
Spotlight. Is this the same as simply to exert oneself?
Not quite. To exert oneself just means to put in effort. You exert yourself physically in the gym. To go out of your way means making a special effort, often involving inconvenience, to do something for someone else or to ensure a positive outcome. The focus is on the extra step taken beyond what is normal or required.
So it implies generosity.
Often, yes. The definition. To go out of your way is an idiom and phrasal verb that means to make a special, often inconvenient effort to do something, usually to achieve a positive outcome or help another person.
Let's have the 5 examples.
1, formal. The organization's commitment to ethical sourcing was evident in the way its managers consistently went out of their way to verify supply chain compliance.
Okay, casual.
She went out of her way to find me a specialty vegan restaurant, even though it meant traveling farther away from her own home.
That's really nice. Funny one.
My neighbor goes out of his way to tell everyone how early he wakes up every single morning, whether they ask or not.
Okay, historic.
Early diplomats had to go out of their way to learn the local language and customs to avoid causing serious international incidents.
And philosophical.
Acts of great kindness are often defined by the necessity of going out of one's way for someone who cannot immediately return the favor.
The source mentioned a truly punctual person who takes an earlier train just in case there's a delay. That's a perfect example of making a special effort.
It is. Let's do a role play on that. I'll start.
Look for it.
That man truly goes out of his way to be punctual. He leaves 30 minutes earlier than necessary for every meeting.
Taking an earlier train just in case of a delay means he is intentionally going out of his way to prevent being caught out.
Exactly. It's an inconvenience. He has to spend extra time waiting and possibly feeling awkward. But he prioritizes being on time for the sake of the other person.
If I really want to master time and stop being a time bender, I need to start going out of my way to set up successful conditions, like prepping my entire work bag the night before.
Making that small, inconvenient effort to go out of your way is what prevents large failures and massive stress later.
Collocations for this one.
1, a common phrase is to always go out of one's way.
Okay.
2, it can be used negatively, though it's rare. He goes out of his way to cause trouble.
Right.
3, a nuance. It often implies generosity or dedication. She goes out of her way to help her students. 4, the action is voluntary and deliberate. It shows forethought.
And the last one.
It is directly contrasted with people who rely on luck or last-minute timing. It's the opposite of being a time bender.
Okay. We have covered the emotional resistance and the tactical jargon. Now, let's bring it all back to the listener's primary goal: achieving fluency in English. We can use these same time management principles, small steps, consistency, to maximize our learning efficiency.
Absolutely. The source has provided many specific study hacks that link directly to our time management concepts, especially the idea of consistency and manageable steps.
Let's start with a powerful pronunciation tool, the shadow technique. What is shadowing, and why is it so effective?
Shadowing is a powerful pronunciation and rhythm technique where the learner listens carefully to an audio like a podcast segment and repeats everything the speaker says immediately. You're aiming to mimic the speaker's pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation as closely as possible.
So you're speaking at the same time as the native speaker, just slightly behind them, like a faint echo or a shadow.
Exactly. You follow them like a shadow. You are trying to capture the acoustic shape of the speech. The step-by-step process is simple. First, you listen to a short segment, ideally no longer than 1 or 2 minutes because it requires intense concentration.
Okay.
Second, you repeat. When the speaker says a word or phrase, you repeat it aloud immediately, trying to match their pace and intonation. You need to focus on where the stresses fall, the louder, longer syllables. And third, you continue, repeating each phrase as it's spoken, focusing purely on the sound, not necessarily the deep meaning.
This sounds difficult, but highly effective for making your speech sound more natural and boosting your conversational fluency by eliminating hesitation.
It's fantastic for transferring passive knowledge into active, productive speech. It builds muscle memory in your mouth.
Now, Why are transcripts necessary for technical content and shadowing practice? Why can't I just listen?
Transcripts are absolutely essential for two main reasons. First, for technical content like the productivity terms we just discussed, transcripts ensure you correctly grasp the meaning, the spelling, and the precise context of specialized jargon. You need to know you heard doom scrolling, not dream soaring.
That ensures accuracy, which is vital.
Second, for shadowing practice, the transcript helps you understand which words are content words, which should be stressed, like nouns and verbs, and which are function words, which should have weak forms, like articles and prepositions. If you don't know the exact words, you can't mimic the native rhythm accurately. It provides the foundation for effective, focused practice.
That makes a lot of sense. And this all comes back to a word we've used a few times, manageable.
Yes. Let's do a deep dive.
Spotlight. If a task is manageable, is it exactly the same as achievable?
They are very closely related goals. Achievable means the goal is possible to reach. It's not too difficult or unrealistic, like becoming rich quickly is not achievable. Manageable means the task is structured and controlled in a way that makes it easy to handle, often by breaking it into smaller pieces.
So a big goal can be achievable only if it is broken into manageable steps.
Exactly. The definition.
Yeah.
Manageable is an adjective that means capable of being controlled, structured, or accomplished without great difficulty. Easy to handle.
Let's hear the examples.
1. Formal. The project manager recommended dividing the extensive system migration into 6 smaller, more manageable phases, each with a specific deadline.
Okay, casual.
Learning 5 new English words a day is a far more manageable task than trying to memorize 50 words at once.
The small steps approach. Funny one.
The toddler's massive tantrum was only made manageable by the immediate introduction of ice cream in a new, shiny toy.
Huh. Okay, historical.
Early governments found that controlling a small territory was much more manageable than attempting to govern a sprawling, diverse empire.
And philosophical.
True mental peace comes from accepting that only the present moment and a short list of tasks are truly manageable.
This word is the core of the small step strategy. Let's show how Daniel used this advice to overcome procrastination.
Okay, a role play. I'll be the procrastinator.
I feel completely overwhelmed by the idea of cleaning my entire garage. I keep procrastinating on this huge chore.
You need to break that huge task down into small, manageable steps, just like Daniel advised his friends.
But where do I start? The whole garage seems equally difficult.
Start with just one corner. Clear one drawer. Throw away the trivial things. That makes the first step manageable and removes the initial resistance.
If I focus on just one small, manageable area, I can stop the resistance and build the momentum I need to finish the whole chore.
Perfect. For collocations. 1, a common phrase is manageable size or manageable steps or chunks.
Okay.
2, the opposite is unmanageable, meaning out of control. 3, the verb form is to manage. He managed to finish the report on time. 4, a nuance. Setting manageable goals is essential for long-term consistency and avoiding burnout.
And the last one.
It's used frequently when suggesting organization as a solution to being overwhelmed by life admin.
Now, for the concept that helps you decide which podcasts or resources to use for your study time, the 80% comprehension rule.
Yes, I know that if a resource is too easy, I get bored. But if it's too hard, I feel overwhelmed and might procrastinate. The experts suggest aiming for a podcast or resource where you understand about 80% of what is being said. This is the sweet spot for optimal learning.
Why 80% specifically?
The 80% you understand keeps you engaged and motivated. The remaining 20% contains new words, new phrases, and new structures that challenge you without feeling so overwhelming that you quit. This level of difficulty is vital because it facilitates vocabulary learning. You are repeatedly encountering that new 20% vocabulary, which is necessary for you to truly learn the word, its spelling, its pronunciation, its collocations, and its tonal nuances.
This means we should choose resources that are slightly difficult but not impossible. The small, consistent effort, the manageable 15 minutes a day is the key.
And that leads us to our last vocabulary deep dive, a word often needed in the context of socializing, which is a major part of learning a language in real life: acquaintance.
Okay, so spotlight question. How is an acquaintance different from a contact?
A contact is usually someone you know professionally or transactionally, the IT guy or a work colleague in another department. An acquaintance is a person you know slightly, but they are not a close friend. The relationship is social but tentative.
So the source mentioned that British people feel nervous about turning an acquaintance into a friend by going out of their way to ask them for coffee.
That's the cultural connection, the definition. An acquaintance is a noun, a person one knows slightly, but who is not a close friend.
Let's have the 5 examples.
1. Formal. Professor Smith recognized the visiting lecturer as an old professional acquaintance from his previous posting at a different university.
Okay, casual.
We often see each other at the local market, but we're just social acquaintances, nothing more than a quick hello.
Right, funny one.
My neighbor is such a distant acquaintance that I only know his name as the guy who owns the very loud truck, and nothing else.
That's very specific, historical.
In early modern societies, most social interactions outside the immediate family unit were conducted with polite but reserved acquaintances.
And philosophical.
To truly understand a person, one must move beyond treating them merely as an acquaintance and seek a deeper, empathetic connection.
Let's use this in the context of the cultural challenge of making friends in English-speaking countries.
Okay, role play. You start.
I met this really nice person at my English class, but I feel too awkward to ask them for coffee.
You're worried about making the first move to turn an acquaintance into a friend, right? You fear the social resistance.
Yes. I don't want to bother them or seem too pushy. I should just keep them as a casual acquaintance.
The source suggests many British people feel nervous about this too. Going out of your way to ask an acquaintance for a drink is a big step, but it's a necessary step for deeper connections.
I will take the risk. I need to move them from a classroom acquaintance to a study partner to boost my fluency.
That's the way for collocations. 1, a common phrase is a casual acquaintance or a professional acquaintance.
Okay.
2, the verb connection is to make an acquaintance. It's a bit formal now.
Right.
3, a nuance. The phrase beyond acquaintance implies moving to friendship. 4, it can describe the level of knowledge. I have some acquaintance with that topic.
Interesting.
And 5, the key nuance. The relationship often lacks the emotional commitment of friendship.
We have covered so much vocabulary, from trivial tasks to achieving fluency. Now it's time to address some common traps that intermediate B1, B2 learners fall into when talking about time and emotion. These mistakes can change your intended meaning completely.
This is a critical segment. Misusing these adjectives and phrasal verbs can make a native speaker misunderstand your emotion entirely.
Okay, mistake number 1. Confusing annoyed versus annoying. Can I say, I'm annoying when people are late?
That is a very common and very dangerous mistake. You are confusing the adjective forms. Remember, in English, the ing form describes the cause or the thing that creates the emotion, and the in form describes the feeling itself.
Oh.
If you say, I'm annoying, you are saying that you are the person who causes annoyance in others. You are the difficult or bothersome person.
Oh dear, I definitely don't want to say that. I want to say that lateness bothers me.
So native speakers would correct that by saying one of two things. You could say, it is annoying when people are late. Lateness is the cause. Or you could say, I am annoyed by lateness. That is your feeling.
So the traffic is annoying, but I am annoyed.
Perfect.
Okay, got it. I am annoyed by my own procrastination, but the act of procrastination itself is annoying.
You've got it.
Mistake number 2. Incorrect phrasal verb usage for to wind down. We talked about this great term for relaxing. Can I say, I wind down my computer after work?
That's an understandable mistake, linking it to the physical act of winding a clock. However, when we use to wind down as a phrasal verb in a personal or lifestyle context, it means to relax or gradually de-stress. It almost always refers to a person, an activity, or a long event.
So not a machine.
Not usually a machine. You would say you shut down your computer or you turn off your computer. You, the person, wind down with a book of meditation. You are the object of the relaxation.
So after I shut down my laptop, I spend 30 minutes reading a book to wind down myself.
Perfect. The focus is on the human process of mental relaxation.
Okay, mistake number 3. Misusing the noun versus verb for procrastination, procrastinate. We have the noun and the verb. Can I say I have high procrastinate when talking about my habit?
No, that mixes the noun and the verb forms. Procrastinate is the verb, the action of delaying. And procrastination is the noun, the habit or tendency of delaying.
Okay.
You must use the verb as an action. I tend to procrastinate on my administrative tasks. Or you use the noun, usually with the verb of struggle. I struggle with procrastination. Or I suffer from a high degree of procrastination.
So I cannot say I have high procrastinate, but I can say I have a high tendency for procrastination, or I tend to procrastinate frequently.
Precisely. That is the correct usage.
Okay. We've covered a huge amount of information today.
We have. And you have absorbed an incredible amount, moving from emotional vocabulary to complex productivity jargon. So it's time for a quick test to see what's stuck and what you've successfully prioritized as vital knowledge.
I'm ready. Let's see if I was truly focusing during this deep dive or if I was context switching.
Question 1. What is the Italian word for the productivity technique that involves working in 25-minute bursts?
I remember the tomato timer story. That is Pomodoro.
Correct. Question 2. Name one psychological reason a time bender runs late, rooted in social anxiety.
Okay. It's the fear of being early, which often comes from the fear of being conspicuous or feeling awkward while waiting alone.
Excellent. You remember the internal psychology. And finally, linking back to efficiency, according to the Pareto principle, what percentage of your tasks yield 80% of your long-term results?
That is the vital few. 20% of tasks yield 80% of results.
You nailed all three. You are now officially fluent in the language of time management.
Thank you. I feel much more confident talking about my goals now.
To summarize the top concepts we mastered today. 1. The emotional root of procrastination. It's fear or resistance, not laziness. 2. The 80-20 rule for prioritization, separating the vital from the trivial. And 3. Punctuality is a cultural marker and the psychology behind the time bender.
And the top 5 words we broke down today, which you can start using immediately, are deadline, conspicuous, life admin, doom scrolling, and fluent.
The key is to start applying this language immediately, using small, manageable steps.
We have a micro challenge for you, the listener. When you finish listening, write down one trivial task and one vital task for tomorrow, and then use the word manageable in a sentence in the comments below. Make the first step of your vital task a manageable micro goal.
And I'll leave you with this final, powerful thought. Remember, fluency, like mastery of time, is a journey, not a destination. You are not behind. You are simply moving at your own speed. And every small, consistent step is progress toward your ultimate goal.
That's a powerful thought to end on. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Global English Podcast. I'm Jordan. See you next time.
And I'm Taylor. Bye.